Mate, honestly, my feet were going again then.
You just got me. That song just gets going, and then all of a sudden the screen comes up, and then here we are.
No, I got to make it longer for next week. And I got to make it longer for next week. Well, welcome back. Welcome back. Another Thursday preview show. EPL across the pond. Thursday's preview show. Second week of us going now. We're looking forward to this week. There's a big week this as well because it's a double game week. So before we come back on the air again, there's going to be 20 Premier League games. So we're going to have to try and unpack as many of them as we can as we go through. But how are you getting on, mate?
I'm good. Good to see you, Gary. Life's good, busy, excited for this weekend's football. Hopefully the wife and kids haven't got too many plans because like you say, there's a lot of games to get through.
Mate, I'm on a course at the moment and it's every other Saturday. So thankfully I've got the telly upstairs and I'm just going to be like corner of my eye, just watching the telly as I'm on this course because everyone's looking at you on the camera. I'm just going to have one eye on the telly as much as I can, but obviously I'm not if anyone's listening.
No, professional.
Yeah, so same as usual, guys. If you're in and you're watching, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you want to go on Instagram, at EPL across the pond, like and subscribe anything that you see on there as well. And if you feel like it and you fancy it, and you feel like getting involved in the comments as well, absolutely. If you've got an opinion, fire it into the comments, and we'll hopefully we can get a little bit of backwards and forwards as we go.
Yeah. But yeah. And these shows are for you as well. So if you've got things you want us to talk about, to discuss, to bring it on, let us know and we'll get you featured on a future show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we have a plan, but it will go out the window if someone brings a good point up. But yeah, absolutely. If anyone ever fancies coming on, drop us a text, slide into those DMs if that's your business. And then I know, right? It's naughty, isn't it? Naughty. By the way, speaking of naughty, did you get the memo about the Adidas tracky tops tonight? Is that what it is?
Well, I was following one from your Eurofit last night. I was going for looking what's in the closet. It's a bit chilly in Michigan at the minute, so I thought with the Winter Olympics going on right now, I'll get the old Eddie the Eagle style jacket out. Give that a go.
I've just gone, after watching myself on the telly last night, I've just gone full black tracky top with my little Adidas badge, and that'll be about it. But it has to cover up. Last night I had to peel that thing off me. It was an effort. Let's just put it that way. All right. So listen, before we start, we're going to we're going to pick up where we left off last week. So at the end of the show last week, we threw out the conundrum after John Terry's comments and a few other people's comments. Who would you prefer? Who do you rate higher, or who's been the most effective, the better player? And it was John Terry or Virgil van Dijk. And it's funny, we had 36 total responses, a couple of dodgy comments as well, but 36 actual responses. And it was, do you want to hazard a guess as
what? Were they dodgy because you didn't agree with those answers, or was it just questionable?
It was just questionable statements. But to be fair, you know what? No news is bad news, isn't it? No press is bad press. So
they're both great players. Great players.
That's it. No question about that. And that's the point about these things. We're not denying the quality of either player. All we're saying is, who do you think is best? And everyone's entitled to opinion. This is a democratic country. Everyone's entitled. This country was founded on that. So let's go with it. So 36 proper responses. How do you think the split went?
Oh, I don't know with our viewers and stuff. Obviously, you voted for who I think you voted for. It's going to be so close. It's going to be. I can't call it. It's going to be so close. It could go either way.
It was 50-50 down the middle.
Oh, the American draw. Nobody likes a draw. Do I get the deciding vote then? Do I get the deciding vote?
Do you want the deciding vote, or are we going to? Because the thing is, I know what's going to happen. We're going to end up arguing over the deciding vote, and then it's going to be a draw anyway.
Well, listen, I think it's JT for. I think I mentioned it a bit on the show last week. But what's your opinion? Give us your reasoning.
So, all right. So I went with Virgil van Dijk, and the reason I went with Virgil van Dijk was, I feel like you can talk about longevity in the league and all the rest of it. Van Dijk, for me, has always had to carry Liverpool's back four, whereas I think Terry had help. Like, if you think about the players that John Terry played with, Carvalho was rated as one of the best defenders the Premier League's ever seen. Ivanovic was an absolute beast. And then Gary Cahill, when he was at Chelsea as well, was at the top of his game.
Ashley Cole, arguably the best left-back the Premier League's ever seen. There's another defender. And then in front of it, he's got Makelele, Lampard, a whole host of
checking goal at times. Like that's my point. Like, I'm not taking away from Terry because he was quality, but You know, does it sound biased a little bit because I've got the shirt on the wall behind me as well? But you know, I just think it was Van Dijk edged it just because I think he's held Liverpool together a little bit. Signing him has changed Liverpool.
The reality is we can all admit they're just one step behind Rio Ferdinand and Nemanja Vidic. So
mate, we're not even getting involved in that. We're not even getting involved.
All right, moving on.
One thing I'd like everyone to get involved in, though, if they do feel like it, and we're going to go with our questions again, because we did get good feedback off the questions, little texts here and there as well. So first question of the day.
All right, let's have it.
And I think this is a bit of a beast. Like, there's a couple of obvious ones, but some that people might not get. The first question of the day is, name the 8 teams that have never been relegated from the Premier League.
I'm going to start making notes through the thing.
Yeah.
So I had to look at these. Gary just puts them up, and it tests my little knowledge to make sure I know what I'm talking about. So I'll put a list together and I'll go through it
as we go, and you might pick them up. But yeah, name the 8 teams that have never been relegated from Premier League. So once we've talked about last week's games, or a couple of last week's games, we'll put the answer on the screen. So on that, we'll start off. First of all, can we just say that we absolutely, whatted the bed when it comes to our picks for last week? Game of the week, maybe. Lock of the week, I was nowhere near it. My lock of the week was Chelsea.
Same.
And they score in the first minute or the first couple of minutes, and you're like, right, nice one. João Pedro, he's ticking over. Yeah. You think to yourself, all right, nice one. This is going to be an absolute blitz.
Burnley will fold.
They'll fold like a deck chair, and then it didn't happen, did it?
No, I thought they'd run the score up.
Fofana gets sent off.
Fair play to Burnley, though. Fair play to Burnley.
Like, it says a lot about, and this is a point actually that I wrote this down after the game, because I find yourself now when you're doing this, you just end up I've got notes everywhere. My missus goes mental because there's notes all over the house, but
Post-it notes on the fridge.
Yeah, just a piece of backs of envelopes and stuff. But think about this, like a performance like Burnley. Burnley are well up against it, right? They are, albeit they're 8 points from safety, but 8 points at this stage of the season is a lot and can be a lot, especially for a team that has only won 4 games all season. It just stands to the testament of Scott Parker and what he's doing at that club and the buy-in that he gets from the players.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And the fact that they can come back and get that goal in the last couple of minutes is great. And they celebrated like they'd won the World Cup, which, you know what? Good for them. And I've always got
ex-Chelsea player as well, so it's why not?
And I've got a soft spot for Burnley as well, as I said last week. But I don't think they stay up. But at the same time, it's nice to see them going down fighting, much like what we said about Wolves. But on the other side of it, right? And this is a question for you, because you've played, you've coached, you've been around football a little bit and a long time. This Rosenior, right? I know people are saying he's a yes man, right? But did you see his interview after the game?
With regards to
he was very reflective and which is great, which is really nice. And he was talking about he knows what needs to be done and he knows what needs to get fixed. And my argument would be, listen, no question he's in the right position, no question he's got all his qualifications and he knows about football and he knows what needs to be fixed. But my argument would be, if you've got a team with the likes of Enzo Fernandez in it, who won the World Cup 4 years ago, and you've got a guy he's clearly just a corporate, he's a corporate man, and he's, as far as Chelsea goes, he was at Strasbourg, he was at Hull, it didn't work out, and now he's come into Chelsea. He's fallen on his feet a little bit given the situation. Like, are you having him? Like, if you're Enzo Fernandez, are you having Liam Rosenior?
No, it's always been the argument with a lot of professional players if they don't respect the manager, either as a player, an ex-player, or for what he's done in the game, it's just not going to work. His comments after the game, they were very conservative, right? He's just not saying too much, not pointing fingers out and stuff. But go back to like Mourinho being there or Conte or those kind of guys. Do you think they'd accept that? Do you think they'd accept that performance of dropping points at home to a team second from bottom? I don't get it. I've always been the believer is when you're playing, you have to respect your coach and your manager, and you respect them either they're an ex-player or they've established themselves as a manager, and you get the respect and the buy-in for what they've done as their managerial career. And I think there's going to be maybe a bit of player power comes into place You could see it in the old days with, if they didn't agree with it, players would go and speak to Abramovich and they'd say, this isn't the right guy. And, he went through a ton of coaches until he got the right coach. But he always picked either someone that was going to get respect, either as a managerial level or an ex-player level. And it's a balmy decision, to be honest.
It's a tough one for him as well. It's a tough one for him, no question, because he's not got the playing experience. He's not got the gravitas of a top player, and he's not got the experience of a top manager. But then you look at Mourinho. Mourinho did it when he was at Porto. He earned that, and then he came into Chelsea. There's other players, right? Managers. Benitez was another one, right? He didn't have a spectacular playing career, but he earned the right as a coach. Yeah. He worked his way up. I just don't. But Mourinho was the way that he was, and I don't think Rosenior. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think Rosenior
just won the European Cup. So he's won Mourinho just won the European Cup.
But you got to imagine that he's gone into Porto with this attitude of, I know what I'm talking about. This is what's going to happen. I don't know if Rosenior's got that, and I think he's very reflective, which is great. But at the same time, I don't know if that's going to G the players up.
It's also similar a bit to the Amorim situation at United. That was a gamble. He'd done very well in Portugal, granted probably more successful than Rosenior was at Strasbourg. And that was a gamble, and it didn't work. And it went on longer than it should have done. But he did have the opportunity to turn it around. But you could see, from a United fan perspective, or someone who just loves the game or watches the game, you could see early on that Amorim was never going to work at Old Trafford. And they kind of just dragged it, maybe because of the Ten Hag situation, or maybe because they'd invested a little bit in him. But you knew that Amorim was never going to work at United.
Yeah.
He was very stubborn. He was very set in his ways. He had a select team and a style of play he wanted to do, and he couldn't adapt. So it's going to be, Rosenior's got to do it before the end of the season. Otherwise, he's gone in the summer.
Yeah, just another casualty, isn't it?
If he fails to get Champions League with, we'll talk about the money issues in a minute with Chelsea with the pre-tax loss. He's not going to be there next year. They'll get to the summer, they'll recharge, bring another manager in, and just throw another load of money at it.
Yeah, I know. Speaking of throwing money at stuff, City got a 2-1 win. It got home to Newcastle, and you know what struck me more about this result is the relief that on the City players at the end of the game.
Right. You're seeing it a lot now. You know what it reminded me of? The year that Liverpool first won the league, the Premier League, whatever it was, you probably know. But every game with about 10 games to go, Klopp and the rest of them would go to the away fans and they were celebrating like they just won the cup.
Mm.
They knew it was one more game to get in towards the finishing line. And they knew that it was a big game for them, and City can't afford to drop any points now. If they want to stand it, well, they might lose a lot of points, but another topic. But if they want any chance of winning the league, they've probably got to win every single game out from now to the end of the season to stand a chance. So they're probably taking one game at a time. They're celebrating that game like they just won the cup because it's massive. It's one more game closer to achieving what they need to achieve.
Yeah, no, true. I mean, and the young lad O'Reilly there popped up with 2 goals. The defender left back. I mean, he might be something who's going into the England or looking at sniffing around the England squad for the summer. But did you see? Again, I don't want to spend too much time on all this, but did you see the challenge from Bernardo Silva on Dan Burn?
You mentioned it.
I've got to find footage and stick it on the socials if I'm allowed to. But he's not even looking. It just looked like pass interference. If honest to God, if that was a Lions corner and he did, the flags would be flying everywhere. It's ridiculous. Like he's not even looking. He's just nudged him, and it's enough to knock him off. Almost to the point where the refs have gone, I don't know what to do here because how's that little fella knocking him over? But yeah, that was a good one. You did have, bias all around, but you did have the daylight robbery at the City ground without you getting too charged. And obviously there's a little bit of backwards and forwards between you and I, but I don't. If I was a Forest fan, I'd be fuming. But as a Liverpool fan, I'm like, take it. City ground is a tough place to go. And we didn't play well. We lost our best player in the warm-up, which is not an excuse. Well, it is an excuse, but we just didn't play well anyway. Some of our players were nowhere near it, and we've just gone and nicked it at the end.
The only thing that really, really, really irked me about it was when Sloboslai's got the ball and Dominguez has ran to him, and I'm like, he's going to drop the shoulder. Don't buy it. Because he wants to whip it on his right foot. He's so one-footed player. Drops the shoulder. Dominguez is like, taxi. He's out the way, and and as soon as he put the ball in, I'm like, it's going to fall to somebody. It's going in. Somebody's going to scramble it and going in and stuff. So yeah, the handball thing moments before. It's not deliberate. There's nothing you can really do about it, but it's hit the arm, and letter of the law says that's got to be given. As far as the offside thing goes, I'm getting tired of looking at those weird little dodgy graphics that they pull up.
Well, you never quite know, do you? You never. Sometimes they'll show you the photo. Sometimes they'll show you that graphic. Sometimes they won't show you anything.
Right.
It's very. But again,
there was like 30 seconds. Then they put that dodgy graphic up, and then they just carried. Then they gave the goal and went back. There was no further replays shown of it. There was no other angles or lines. You know what? It is what it's hard as a Forest fan because Forest played really well on the day, and it was a good all-round team performance. Had a couple of chances where if Hudson-Odoi puts that one-on-one in, and there was a couple of long-range shots, but you move on to the next one.
All right, the next one in this case is Tottenham 1, Arsenal 4. This was our game. We had this. I think we both had this as game of the week.
Yeah, because I thought Tottenham would have a bit more in them.
I really did, mate. And I just when they scored the equaliser straight away, I was like, all right, okay. And then the whole debacle with the ref. The whole debacle with the ref was a tough one as well, though, because you've got the refs, the whatever it was, all the systems that they look like RoboCop. These refs now, don't they? That went in the first half, delayed the game for 5-6 minutes, and then it happened again at the second half, beginning of the second half. So, and then all of a sudden, Arsenal score 2 minutes into the second half. You're like, all right, and then they just ran away. Tottenham were terrible, but again, I've said this before, in conversation, that ground turns very quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've always questioned stipulated if they play music or they play, fans noise through the speakers, because it's supposed to have one of the best sound systems in the stadium. And it's like, if you're the Tottenham board, just get them to play music through the, encouragement songs and chants through the speakers and stuff. But they're a sinking ship, aren't they? They really are.
But even the fans leave. You almost want when the boos are going on, you just play it through the PR system, just going la 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 through the PR, so no one can hear the booing. It's mad. And then, so as a top, I mean, there's key games around that as well. That's a key game this weekend, I think, because Tottenham are on a nosedive at the moment. But
sure.
The next three, I mean, there's a couple more games. I just want to get through these ones real quick because I don't want to get tied down because there is a lot of games to get through. Man United's goal, first of all, that's massive for Man United. And what a goal as well.
They're fine. I mean, what was it now? 6 wins out of the last 7 or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. I think it's 5 out of 7. I think they've drawn 2 and won 5. But Cunha's ball to Mbeumo was unbelievable, which sickens me because I had him in my fancy team and I didn't get any points for it.
And Sesko again. Sesko saved them again.
Yeah.
Clean pair of heels. Speed. Listen, you and I could probably give Tarkowski a run for his money if we're in a, I don't know about yourself, but I probably
Michael Keane, I reckon I could have Michael Keane in a race.
Well, he did well to get back. He was just, as he looked over his shoulder and the ball's been squared, it's like, come on, Tarks, where are you, kid?
Yeah.
His parachute's up, blowing. But
you've got, it's
goal, great finish. And then who's going to stop United with the form they're in?
I think United, it's that thing in it we talked about it being streaky, I think. And the championship stuff. If United can carry on going here, win a couple more, I think they're nailed on for top 4.
I think I said it last week or the week before. It's like, it reminds me a lot of Leicester when they won the league. They've just literally got 1 game a week, no cup competitions, no distractions. Let's keep these core 11, 12, 13 players fit and just take it off 1 week at a time. Let your Arsenals, the Cities, the Liverpools worry about European Cups, FA Cups, all that kind of side of things. We're out of everything. All we've got now is to focus on the Champions League positions. I think they're not nailed on, but can't say it.
I tell you what, though, and there's 2 other games I wanted to look at, really, and it's literally 1 goal either way. Leeds got a goal back at Villa, drew 1-1. Leeds are just picking up points as they go, and they're just chipping away at that, getting to that 40-point mark. And then West Ham 0, Bournemouth 0. West Ham battered Bournemouth in the second half and couldn't score a goal for love nor money, but
it's
a shame. It's a missed chance as well because they'd have been level on points with Forest had they won that game, which is a bit of a sickener. But yeah, that was a lot. There was a lot. Obviously, there's other games, so sorry if we didn't get to your one, but we want to get to the predictions and a couple of other bits as well. But before we go to the predictions, have you been taking notes as we go?
I have been taking notes.
The first question was name the 8 teams that have never been relegated from the Prem. Bit of a trick in this as well. Who have you gone for?
The obvious ones, United, Chelsea, Spurs, Liverpool, Everton. Mine's gone a blank. So Liverpool, Everton, Spurs. I said Arsenal. Missed Arsenal off my list. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 6.
All right, these are the last two are blags. They're not blags because it's true, but technically, Man United, Liverpool, Everton, Tottenham, Arsenal, Chelsea, Brighton, and Brentford never been relegated.
See what you did
in the league a couple of seasons, but they've never been relegated.
Up here for thinking, downstairs for dancing.
Exactly. A bit of a cheeky monkey one, that, isn't it? A bit of a cheeky monkey one. All right, before we go on to the next topic, just quickly, the next question is this. Name the only 3 players that have won the Premier League's Golden Boot in 3 consecutive seasons. So 3 players have done it. They've won the Golden Boot 3 seasons in a row. You got to name those 3. So I think there's an obvious one, recent one, but get him in. And there's probably one that you think is there, but he's not. But anyway, good luck. If you know the answer, fire it in the comments. All right, couple of quick ones. We talked last week about this financial fair play, right? And Leicester getting docked 6 points in the champ and what it did for them. It's resurfaced again now, and it's resurfaced again about Man City potentially getting done 40 points, right? I saw 60, but I think more realistically it'll be 40. The question for me is, how likely is it to happen?
And when would it happen? Would it be in the season?
When does it happen? Yeah.
Let's get through this season because we're in a championship race and maybe we'll take it in the summer. You know what? All the other clubs that have been done for this, whether it be Everton, Forest, Leicester now as well, they got him instantly. The court case was done. They got him instantly. This court case was over, I think it was 14 months ago now.
Yeah, November. It was November 2024.
Right. So it's 14 months in the thing. And now they reckon its deliberations are coming up and everything. So do City try and drag it a little bit over and try and get an announcement come in at the end of the season? If it is 40 points, do they follow protocol and do it now and just be like, okay, it's 40 points, we're going to do it today, which kills the title race. It makes the relegation battle even juicier.
Because what does it put them at?
16, which is 11 points off Forest.
Do they stay up with 11 games left?
Well, it's 33 points to play for. They need 11 to break, get closer and stuff. I think they do. So as far as a City point of view, what does that really do? They'll be in Europe next year, maybe from a cup competition. Obviously, they'll be out. They won't be in the Champions League, which is a big thing for them. But it's pretty much one season that they just get affected for. They'll go back in the summer. They'll buy a load of players and they'll win the league next year. So what does that really resolve or do anything? I was watching another podcast and some fans were saying, well, there should be a transfer ban for 3 years, which when you've got the biggest and best academy in the country, when you've already got a squad full of international superstars, you could probably bring more of your homegrown talent on and, bring players through and whatnot. They've also got a ton of players that are 18, 19, 20 on loan that they could just bring back and develop as well.
The question I would say, though, mate, there is everyone's talking about Guardiola and might be moving on. If you do a transfer ban and you do bring a new coach in, how does that alter the mood in the camp? Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like if you've been a long-serving manager, you know exactly what's coming through the youth. The youth know exactly what's expected of the system. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, okay, new manager possibly, and then no more new players coming in and you don't have to rely on the academy. I wonder if it would gel as much as we probably think.
They'll find a way. They'll find a way of finding loopholes with loan players or, oh, this one's out of contract. Can we pick him up? Everything. Remember a couple of years ago when Chelsea got a 2-window ban?
Yeah, true.
I think they won the league around that time as well because they had a big enough squad in itself and they just pushed it through. A couple of youth players come through. So it's not necessarily the end of the world. It's not going to stop if Pep does step down or goes to do something else. It's not going to stop them going after the biggest and best next manager. It's Chelsea. They're always going to be. Well, sorry, it's City. They're always going to be in that shop window for managers. So I don't know. It kills the title race. It kind of makes it more juicy and exciting at the other end. Or do you look at the title race and say, okay, you take City out there, Villa 10 points off.
United, I think it's dead. I think it's dead. I think Arsenal. I mean, Arsenal are going to be tough to catch anyway. Right. But I think, if you take those points now, I'd love to see 40 points at the beginning of next season.
Right.
That'd be fun, wouldn't it? Because it'd just be like, it'd be like. Have you ever seen those races where they did one the other day where what's the little fella? Kevin Hart's running on the beach and Usain Bolt's behind him, and he's like 60 yards behind him, and they both start at the same time, and he's coming and he's getting closer and closer. I just think it'd be like that. It'd be brilliant.
Crashes and crumbles.
Yeah, I'd love that. That'd be something that's worth it.
I think the points thing, but maybe there should be other things as well. Maybe there should be a point system ban, a points deduction and a transfer ban. Because whatever you relegate them down to the Championship, they'll just come straight back up.
Yeah, true.
It makes no real difference. It kind of leads into the next one with Chelsea, with the news that came out today with Chelsea and their record pre-tax loss of £355 million, which is the biggest pre-tax loss from an English Premier League team. It's the second biggest pre-tax loss of all time after Barcelona in 2021, which was £484 million. Barcelona could still go and buy players. They didn't get kicked out of Europe. They didn't get points deductions. So do you look at that's the other argument with the whole City thing and the Chelsea thing. The FA and the Premier League are not really going to want to do anything to it because they need City in the Premier League. They're one of the biggest teams in the world. It's good for the brand. And like I said last week, if you do any big punishment to them, it's going to deter future investment in football clubs from foreign owners. And that's what the Premier League wants. They want your Brentfords, your Burnleys, your Sunderlands to get bought out by big American or Saudi consortiums for hundreds of millions of dollars. All of a sudden, there's restrictions around that and there's limitations. Why would you buy something that was a limitation around it?
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. But again, we'll never know, will we?
No,
I think that's above all of our heads.
You know what? We could wake up in the morning. This could be just been posted, and all of a sudden, City have got the 40 points, and
we'll make sure we get this bit out tonight then. Before we're done. Yeah, exactly. All right. So we'll move on. We'll move on quickly to something that's just as desperate for me anyway, and it's fantasy football. I had a nightmare last week.
How'd you get on?
Nightmare, mate. Nightmare. In the leagues that I'm in, I'm just going to pull it up now. In the leagues that I'm in, I had 44 points. The average was 45. And my team on paper is stacked, but I've dropped down in some of the leagues. I'm 15th now in another one that has it's a bit of a big payout, that one as well. I've dropped down to 15th. I'm fuming. But what I did was I picked...
Did you drop Mbeumo last week?
I did drop Mbeumo last week, actually. I'm a king of that. If I put a player in, he's going to have an absolute beast. And if I take him out, he's going to have a worldie. That's why I don't have any Liverpool players in my team, just in case.
I never used to with Forest or United players because if they don't get points, there's a good chance your team's won.
Yeah, exactly.
And if they do get points, it's good for the fantasy team.
So these are what I had. These are me. I had flops. I had flops of the week, players of the week, and then picks for this week. So my flops of the week: Arsenal centre backs, Saliba and Gabriel. Disaster for me. Morgan Rogers, flatters to deceive. Again, like he's not getting the points. He's not, as far as from a fantasy standpoint, anyway.
I think that's the reason of Aston Villa have started to drop points lately. Gary played his fantasy football team. Could be,
yeah, exactly. Take him out. Valsey will be on the phone. And then Thiago from Brentford. Again, 2 points, nothing. Just played, just turned up, put his kit on that.
Doesn't he just get a point for playing?
He gets 2 points for playing.
2 points for playing. There you
go. It's great,
great,
yeah. All right, the players of the week, though. This is a good one. Gyökeres got 13 points. Eze got 14 points. And then Henderson got 16 for Palace. They won 1-0, didn't they? Last minute goal. But
yeah.
Yeah. So if you captained Henderson, you got decent points there. But again, I don't know who's doing that. Maybe some bot is doing it. I don't know. But Gyökeres, though, on that quickly. Gyökeres.
You don't sound too salty. It's all right.
No, I'm not too fuming at all. No, it's fine. It's completely fine. But it's fine. But it's Gyökeres. I really thought this was the first week that you saw Gyökeres, what he could do. Like the goals he scored, like one on the break, like that's what he's good at. And you made the point before we came on air about if he was playing for a different club in the league that maybe do sit back and allow pressure and then counter on teams, I feel like you'd see the best of Gyökeres. And this week was a point. Like he got 13 points there. Eze just scores against Tottenham for a laugh, doesn't he? So that's where his points come from.
He might be the guy that gets Arsenal over the finishing line. Because you look at it and say, Saka for me just doesn't do it enough consistently. His numbers are shocking. for the adulations and the credit he gets. But now you're looking for, like we were talking about last week, Arsenal don't have a leader. Who's the Vieira or the Tony Adams that's going to pick up the pieces and just drag them over the line. The teams that have done it in the past have always had someone who can score goals. Every Premier League champion has had someone who can score goals. Go back to when Leicester win it. Vardy scored goals for fun that year. Gyökeres might be the guy that picks up the odd goal there because he, like you say, he does all the ugly work. He does all the hard work, running off the ball, running down the channels, chasing players down. Now, if he starts getting a few goals, he'll be the guy that drags them over the line, and no one will be able to catch up with him.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And then I've got 3 picks, 3 players for this week.
Go on.
I'm going to try not to put Ekitike in, but Liverpool, it's a double. I mean, it's not a double game week, but the games that are coming up, but Liverpool have got West Ham on Saturday, and then next week they've got Wolves away. So, you look at Ekitike, there might be someone who you stick in your team. Haaland again. We'll get to these games in a bit, but City have got, who've City got this week?
2 home games, I believe.
City have Leeds. No, City have Leeds away. And then they have, City have got Palace. Oh, Forest.
Forest at home.
Forest at home, yeah. And then the other one would be Mbeumo, because United, again, he looks the part, doesn't he? They got Palace at home, and then they got Newcastle away. Well, those Newcastle games, historically this season, have been high-scoring draws or high-scoring wins for either team. So they'd be my 3 this week.
I think that game, I'll talk about the game in a bit, that United game for Mbeumo and Newcastle will be perfect because United will just sit deep and they'll counter-attack.
Mm.
It'll be similar to the goal he scored against Everton. That'll be bread and butter from Mbeumo. And he's arguably the best in the Premier League at doing that. Yeah,
that's true. That's true. All right, we will get to the games now. We have a habit of doing this, half an hour of talking about anything but the actual games that are coming up. All right, okay. So the last question was 3 players who have won the Premier League's Golden Boot in 3 consecutive seasons. Who have you got?
Shearer's got to be one of them.
Okay.
And then Salah was Liverpool's top scorer for 10 seasons running, maybe more than that. The other one, it was either Rooney or Henry. But I don't remember Rooney really winning the Golden Boot that many times.
I'm surprised. Yeah, I'll go for you now. So it was Shearer,
okay.
95, 96, 97. Thierry Henry, 04, 05, 06. And Salah, 18, 19, 20. I'm surprised Harry Kane's not in there.
Yeah.
Or Haaland even, because you've got to figure, there's been 5 years since Salah last won it, 3 times on the spin. But Salah did win it last year, didn't he, as well? So
yeah,
it's just, I find it's funny, those questions, because sometimes you think one's nailed on and then it's not. All right.
You probably would have said Shearer just because of it.
Yeah, you would think. This last question before we go into the games is quite an interesting one because I think we'll probably talk about it as we go. In 1997, which team was relegated from the Premier League with 42 points? Now, that sounds like a lot, and it was a lot. And I think that number's going to need to be close this year because I think the way teams are playing and picking points off each other. But 1997, which team was relegated from the Prem with 42 points? Again, stick it in the comments. If you can beat Chris to it, we'll go from there. But we'll do that at the end. All right, it's a double game week before we come back next Thursday.
Yeah.
I think the best way to do it is just pick out some teams that we think are going to have an impact. So I've picked Fulham because I think Fulham will have an impact this week. They've got 2 home games. One of them is Tottenham at home on Sunday. And then they've got West Ham at home on Wednesday. Both 2 teams that are going to be fighting for it, I think.
Right.
West Ham, I still think West Ham can dig themselves out, but I think Fulham are going to have an impact.
I've got one for you. I've just changed my mind, actually. I had something else earlier, but hear me out. I'm going Wolverhampton Wanderers, and I'll tell you why. I think Rob Edwards has got a little bit of fight in that team. He's got playing a little bit of football, a little bit of graft. Maybe that they think that the downs, so the pressure's off a little bit. Now they may be thinking of next year and building that camaraderie. They've got Aston Villa at home on Friday night. Huge game, local derby, bit of pressure on Villa to, maintain that momentum and stay in the Champions League positions and potentially keep pushing for the title. And then on Tuesday, another home game against Liverpool. After watching Forest last weekend, Liverpool aren't playing great right now. The first time I've really seen Liverpool, they were second to the ball and everything. They weren't winning anything in the air. They gave the ball away so easily. And if you go, as we saw with Arsenal a couple of weeks ago, I think going to Molineux on a night game might be a stretch too far for Liverpool because I think they play Tuesday but then they also play Friday again against Wolves in the FA Cup. So they play Wolves twice in like 3 days, 4 days, whatever it is. That's mental.
They'll be in a Holiday Inn in Stafford, I'm sure.
Sounds like a good night out. I think Wolves are going to be the ones to watch. Again, they played Arsenal the other week. Now they're playing Villa, Liverpool. They'll be there or about. So, like I say, once you think you're down, that little bit of pressure comes off you. There's no real, like, we don't have to do anything or perform anything. The players can relax, the fans can relax, and then they're just enjoying it, right? When you know you're down, it's done. You can enjoy it a little bit more. I think the big thing for them is let's get to the 12 points so they can beat Derby's record of, the worst ever Premier League team on paper. So they've got 33 points to get a potential 3 points. I think they'll do it. I think they'll get over the line for that. But yeah, Wolves are my team of the week to really get excited. But something a little bit different.
To be fair, I had Wolves written down as a team to watch this week just because they could cause murder. Like they could they're playing a lot of the top teams, aren't they? So they can really disrupt what's going on.
You'd love to do that when you're down and out. It's like, well, we can't do anything, but you know what? We can mess this team's season up. Really throw a span. And dude, when you were playing, that was a good thing to do as well. It was like, this team's going to win the league. I know, we'll stop them.
Yeah, we'll do something. Yeah. I've got a couple of games lined up. Like, I'm not going to give you me picks, me lock, me shock, and me game of the week yet. But like, I'm looking at like games that impact the relegation fight. Like, this is why I think it's going to be interesting. Like, Forest have got to go to Brighton, and they've got to go to Man City this week. And Brighton's obviously a difficult place to play. I don't.
Brighton in the minute, a flip of a coin.
Yeah, that's true. And then City's going to be tough because, again, like you said, City can't afford to drop points, and Forest are in a decent mode, but at the same time, it's not there. Arsenal, Chelsea's another one. Like, Chelsea are so Jekyll and Hyde. You could see them going to the Emirates on is it Sunday or Monday? It's on Sunday, the last game, innit? You could see them going there on Sunday and nicking a point, like a 2-2 draw, something like that, and then that really does set it up. You've got Leeds against Sunderland next week at Leeds. That'll be a wild game. That I think the fan bases of both of those teams are outstanding. Right. And again, Leeds are just chipping away. I feel like Leeds could get something. You could even see Leeds nicking something off City, a point, just because of the crowd. Like, that stadium.
And the nice thing is, when these games come thick and fast, you got injuries, you got all sorts of things that come into a factor and everything. And the team that keep their eyes on the focus, one game at a time, are going to be the ones that get the points. And like about Leeds is, they're literally just taking each game at a time, picking off points, chipping away, just trying to get, close the gap and whatnot. Another game that really stands out as well on the Wednesday, Aston Villa, Chelsea. Chelsea inconsistent. Villa, again, my best mate's a Villa fan, and I've been saying every weekend, you guys can't keep this up. He did the same with me with Forest last year. Every weekend, you got to fall off. Forest stay there till pretty much the last weekend of the season. They dropped out, but Villa is still there. They're still fighting away from it, and it's so close at the top now. Especially with United coming into the picture and having that great run, they've come out of nowhere to get in it. But Liverpool in sixth. They're still only 3 points off fourth place.
Yeah, it's tight. I think I'd be like, as a Liverpool fan, I'll be fuming if we don't win both of these games. Like, we've got to be coming out. But then you look at it. Man United have got to go to Newcastle. Chelsea have got to go to Arsenal. Chelsea have got to go to Villa. Liverpool could be right back in there again, even though I still think United are going to be up and around it. Because Villa, can Villa last it? Will it be one of those things where Liverpool and Man United sneak in at the end of the season? Are Chelsea going to find a level of consistency? You just don't know. And also, this is another side note, but did you notice that thing this week that potentially 7 teams from England could qualify for the Champions League next year? So basically, it's pretty much nailed on. I say pretty much nailed on, but if English teams do well this year in the Champions League and in Europe, they'll get that 5th place. So that's pretty much, it's close to being nailed on. Yeah. Then if a team wins the Europa League, then they'll get in the Champions League. And then if like someone who finishes outside of that top 5 wins the Champions League, like, can you imagine if Tottenham, out of just madness, go and win the Champions League, for example? I mean, it's going to be tough, but
you look at it. I mean, that's the strength of the Premier League. We mentioned a little bit the other day about the Italian league. Everyone still talks about the Italian league as the second biggest team in Europe and stuff. It's like It's really not. The level in Italy is awful from what it was a few years ago.
Yeah.
You look at, even Forest, not cruising, but doing pretty well in the Europa League. The level is just poor. It's so poor. The gap now, you talk about the gap between always been about the Premier League and the Championship gap. I'm now looking at the gap between the Premier League and European football.
Yeah. I mean, you're always going to have the top teams. You're always going to have your Madrid,
your
Madrids, your Barças.
If any of the Premier League teams go out of Europe now, it's a shock. It's a shock. The old days, you go to the San Siro or go to Camp Nou or whatnot. You think, this is going to be a tough game if we go out. No disrespect. Barcelona, Real Madrid, outside of those two teams.
Bayern, I'd put them in there as well.
Bayern, but you'd still probably fancy to beat them over two legs.
PSG. I'm going to start throwing names at you. PSG won it last year. They're decent.
Yeah, but
Newcastle went there and took a point off them. But no, you're right. I mean, listen, I think every English team's got to be looking to get to the quarterfinal. Is it quarterfinals?
Yeah,
because it's the last 16.
Then it's like, is that the real beauty of the competition? Do you want to see? Because obviously they have the seedings, and the English teams can't play the English teams. Do you want the best of a best tournament, right? Where it's just literally like the old days, where it was the champions, and if you won it, you got to go back in it the next year.
Yeah, I know. Well. We'll see what happens, won't we? We'll see what happens. All right, okay.
Quickly. This is the Super League happening before our eyes.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? They've said this, haven't they? Like, they've rebranded the World Club Championship and all that. Like, is this something that's happening? It was a win for the people, but was it really a win for the people? They've rebadged it. Yeah. In the words of Alan Partridge. Again, another random reference that only English people will get. Sadly, sorry.
Oh.
All right. So. Give me we got the three, right? We've got the lock, the shock, and the game. So give me your lock of the week. Who do you think's nailed on win?
I don't want to say it because it probably won't happen now, but I think United Palace.
You know what's funny? I've just realised what I've done. So my lock of the week's going to be Newcastle against Everton.
Okay. I thought about that one as well. I think we talked about them before, yeah.
All right. What's your shock of the week?
I'm going to go Wolves Villa Friday night.
Yeah. This is exactly what I've realised I've just done. My shock of the week is Burnley against Everton.
That's Tuesday, I think, is that?
That's on Tuesday, yeah. So I basically just battered the Ev. I put the shirt on the wall, though, so,
There you go. Edison as well. Come on.
I know. I got my dad tickets for his 75th birthday, so he's going with my brother, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully they win because it's my dad's birthday, so. Right. And then, all right, then, who's your game of the week?
Oh, I think there's a few. I think I have to pick one. Villa, Chelsea. I'm going to go United versus Newcastle, just because of the history, and I think that's going to be end to end. It's going to be open. I think that there's a lot to play for. So
Philip Albert comes on as a sub and just chips the goalie.
Right. Yeah.
I'll take that deal. I'll take that. I'll go Villa Chelsea on next week. I think it's Wednesday next week.
Yeah,
that looks like a crack. That'll be a cracker again. It's just like you said, it's just exciting now, isn't it? Because all the games are coming thick and fast. But again, you wouldn't rule out Fulham West Ham. You wouldn't rule out Fulham Tottenham at the weekend. These games are tasty I all of them.
I see what the nice thing now, Gary. If you look at the table, it's so tight at the top. It's so tight at the bottom. We haven't had that for a long time.
Yeah, true.
It always gets to this stage of the season. There's always like the middle 6 or 7. It's over for them, right? They can't go up, they can't go down, they can't hit Europe, and it becomes a bit of a stale thing. But it's like, even from like 8th, which is Bournemouth on 38 points, they're 10 points behind United with 30 games to play for. So,
well, even with the, and this is what you got to consider as well, like even with the extra Champions League spot, which means the Europa spot bumps down
Leeds
one.
can make Europe.
And this is the thing, because Arsenal are playing Man City in the Carabao Cup, that place is now going to go down a level. Right. So you might be looking at like 8th or 9th of getting into Europe. So these teams, Newcastle, Fulham, Sunderland, Everton, even the teams like Leeds could, it's not just about escaping relegation. It's like, if we can put a run together here, can we get 9th or 8th or 9th and get into Europe? It's mental.
Like I said last week, this is the most exciting part of the season now, because it literally is. Every week's just exciting. Everything can change. We'll be talking in 2 games' time. It'll be like, oh, yeah, Leeds were always going to stay up. They were never going to go down. Oh, yeah, I told you Leeds to go down. It just was one of those exciting things.
Yeah, it is. So now looking forward to it, mate. It's going to be good. By the time next Thursday come around, we're going to be an hour and a half.
I'll be knackered, mate. I'll be knackered after watching all these games.
Yeah, we will be knackered, won't we? All right, okay. So we'll wrap up a little bit. Before we wrap up, though, the question that came up, I don't know if I'd have got this. 1997, which team was relegated from the Premier League with 42 points?
Forest went down that year, but they were bottom. And they didn't have anywhere near 42 points.
Oh, that's when you'd sold like Stan Collymore or Brian Roy, hadn't you?
Well, that is when Van Hooydonk came in. It was the year that Frank Clark left. They were going through all the Stuart Pearce was the caretaker manager for 5 minutes, and it was big Ron Atkinson came in at the end of the season. No, this was 2 seasons before, so it was a mess. It was the Bassett situation. Irving Scholar was the owner. It was just ex-top.
Once you see Ron Atkinson coming over the hill, you know it's over. All right, so go on then. So you're going to go for someone else?
I was thinking West Brom, but I honestly don't know, mate.
I don't know. All right. The answer is Sunderland. Imagine getting 42 points and going down. Absolute sickness.
Mate, that could happen this year.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, honestly, I don't think it's a million miles away from it. All right. So we'll wrap up. That's the end of the show. But before we go, given the success of last week's poll, we're going to go again this week. There was a claim made just after the fact, after he's on the back of the John Terry one. So the claim was, who's the better player? And this is very hard. I think this is a tough one. And I think this is going to be another 50-50 split. The poll is Drogba or Haaland, two players that have really changed the way that forwards are viewed in the Prem for different reasons, I think. But
Haaland, we all saw coming to the Premier League because he was, sought after for a while. Nobody saw Drogba coming in. Even Abramovich didn't want him at Chelsea. Yeah. But changed the game.
Really did, didn't he? Really did. But yeah, so that'll be the poll. We'll stick that on the socials. So if you could get involved, that'll be great. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. If you do get a chance to like and subscribe, do that, please. At EPL across the pond, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all the good stuff. Pop a comment in there, say hello. And if you do fancy being a guest one week, absolutely pop in the comments and give us a shout, and we'll see if we can figure it out. But yeah, that's us for another week, and we'll catch you next week. Enjoy both game weeks. Have a good one. All the best.
Mate, look after yourself and have a beautiful weekend.
You too. 2 wins for the Reds. Let's go.
See you next week, buddy.
See you later.